Greetings, class. I have created this series of videos to talk about how the discussion assignments are designed and their purpose, and a little bit about how I grade them. First of all, the discussion assignments are designed to be an academic conversation about the information you're reading in the textbook. The assignments may ask questions about ethics, about law, about policy, about business strategy, or any or all of those things. The idea is that you get an opportunity to take an issue of the day, and it's an issue that has occurred over the last couple of years, usually, in the business arena, that has an impact on both business conduct but also on society, and to have you engage in a critical evaluation conversation about those issues. So what you will do is you will get an assignment and you will download the PDF. The PDF of that assignment is a list of both how the assignment fits within the overall course objectives, sometimes a scenario. If not a scenario, it will be an article with some resources, additional resources, a combination of video and audio that you'll read, and then a series of questions. And so what you do is I've divided you into groups on Blackboard, and in your groups you will answer the questions, and many times you'll end up, after you answer the questions, with filing a report that the class will look at and read to see how you discussed the particular topic and what conclusions you reached. So in essence, what this is a discussion, a group discussion, a conversation, similar to what you might have in your classes and your face-to-face classes, where you would be divided into, say, small groups, and you'd have a question or a problem or a case to discuss within that small group. And that's what these discussion assignments do. So the first question to you is, a discussion board can be best described as an online conversation, true or false? And I'll give you 10 seconds to think about it. And the answer, which I hope you got, especially from seeing all of the images, a combination of people standing around talking, and then in the upper left-hand corner, 2 people talking. The answer is true. So what I have on this page is a diagram that's the basics of a discussion board. And this is what a discussion board will look like in our classes. Now, if you've already done the Blackboard orientation, you've already seen this. But even if you have, this is a refresher. So the board is divided into different forums or topics. So you'll see at the top of this, you have, this is a test forum that I created just for this video. And that red arrow is pointing to the word test forum at the top. For your classes, you'll have something like a DA1 or DA2, and then G2 for group 2 or group 3. And that's how I name those. But it's discussion assignment 1 or 2 or 3, or sometimes I call them ODA, which is online discussion assignment 1, 2, or 3. And the particular thread would be the question. That's the discussion question. So as I mentioned in the assignments, you get this PDF and it lists, sometimes 6 questions, sometimes 4, depending on the depth of the questions, sometimes a little more, usually no more than, say, 6, 7, or 8 questions. And so the thread would be the particular question you're going to discuss. It's best to divide the discussion into different questions so that then when you're talking about the same topic, that's all grouped together. So the thread would be the discussion question. In this case, in this test forum, the question is who, because the whole forum was who, what, when, where. That was just an invented forum. So the thread would be the who. And then you see in the middle that says Ida Jones, and it has a who there because it identifies a thread. That would be the first posting under this thread or under this topic. So you had the question who, and that question or that thread carries on in the comment. And my comment is, I'd like to know who is in this forum. That's the comment. Underneath my comment, you see options, reply, quote, edit, or delete. Now, I don't think I allow you to edit in your forum or delete in your forum. So you would have just reply and quote. So then the last thing underneath is, it says Ida Jones again. It says R-E, who. That's a reply to the first posting. And then my reply is me, myself, and I are in this forum. Okay, so that's the basic structure of the discussion board. Now let's take a look at an actual example. Here I've taken an assignment question from a previous semester's discussion. And the assignment question is, what is the role of the Federal Trade Commission? Compare that to the role of the Securities and Exchange Commission. How are they similar? How are they different? Be specific. So at the top of this slide, you have the assignment question, which I just read. And that would be one of, as I said, sometimes 6, 7, maybe 8 questions. The second part of this diagram that I have on the discussion board slide is student comments. And then third is response to student comments. So most students post as a separate thread for the group question 1, and all responses to the question 1 are here. And as I mentioned with the previous slide, that's because then the comments make sense. What is confusing is if someone posts a thread question 1 and there are a couple of responses, and someone else comes on there, doesn't look, and posts a new thread called question 1, and then posts comments, and then some others respond. It's confusing and unclear. Whereas if you post them all in a group under question 1, then it's easier to follow it. After the question are the student comments. And you can have someone who's the first to post a comment, or they just reply to the question itself. They don't reply to each other, and that's where this second row is. So I have a couple of examples. The role of the Federal Trade Commission, composed of 3 main things, or the role of the FTC is to prevent business practices that are anti-competitive. That's where you click reply to the thread, and you're the first one to respond. Or if you're not the first one to respond, you click reply to the thread itself, to the question itself. You don't reply to the student. Then that's where these level of comments come in. And then the last is responses to student comments. And this is the part that is important, that makes it really an academic discussion. So the response here, the last 3 columns, the last row with 3 comments, I've given examples of what would be useful responses to student comments. So one key part of the role you omitted was, that might be a reply. Or your comparison was good and here's another way they are similar, or your explanation is identical to another's but you added. Those are the kinds of responses, so that everyone doesn't, for example, with this question, start with the role of the FTC, blah, 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 and then say the same things over and over again. What I want is critical analysis. So you both answer the question, but then think about, well, what did that student say? And do I agree, disagree, and why? Not just I agree. Nor do you just go in and post first responses. Because if you just post first responses, that's not really a conversation. You're just answering the question, but you're not talking to the other people in your group. And this is really about talking to the other people in your group. When you post, whether it's a first comment or response to another student's comments, come back to the discussion board. So the first week, you should be out posting something by the end of the first week, even if it's just a response to one question. Then you come back and see what someone else has to say. So you return to reply to, clarify, explain, and critique the information provided by others. That's what makes this a critical thinking academic exercise. It's not just answering the question and saying, okay, I'm done, I finished that assignment. It's about a discussion. This is a conversation. And a conversation isn't just one person saying something and then leaving and never replying. It's about consistently being involved in the conversation. The other thing I recommend then is that you start early, because it's only if you start early that you're able to post sufficient comments timely so that others can respond. So first week you get the assignment. I post an announcement on Blackboard that the assignment is ready. Then you should be reading the resources along with the other work that you do for the class, and then post at least some response to a question so that others can begin responding. The picture here is of the worm, and you know there's the expression, the early bird gets the worm. Well, I always laugh because who likes worms except obviously only birds? And the idea, though, is that you want to post early. So you see this little early bird worm, then get started early. Even if you don't have answers to everything, just get started in participating in the conversation. So this question, students are engaging in critical thinking by doing which of the following? A, posting comments to a thread without reading others' comments first. B, posting a first comment to every assignment question and not reading others' responses. C, reading others' comments and posting clarifications or explanations. D, posting I agree as a response to another's comment. E, posting comments without reference to the readings or outside resources. Take about 10 seconds and then to select the best response, and then I will reveal the answer. The answer is reading others' comments, then posting clarifications or explanations. So thanks for listening. And there are 2 other parts to this explanation of the discussion assignment.